Peace, everyone. Welcome. Elmore, if you would.
Yo, what
El-
up, world? It's your boy Elmore Universal Humanitarian, and here today with the God and the goddesses, Joy Ishram and Ramutef, and we in here kicking knowledge about astrology, myths, and legends of astrology. And my name is Elmore Universal. Damn, hold up, blah blah blah. Let me get it right. I'm Elmore Universal Humanitarian, right? You can reach me at Gmail, Yoshimore918 at gmail.com. Or you can reach me at Elmore University Humanitarian on YouTube, or you can just call me if you feel like talking, if you want to chop it up. Peace.
Fala tapa maat on Costa Jed on Kujasa Neb, Uben Nefike Panabu Haru Maati to everyone. Anuk Ramutef Kweb, I am Ramutef Kweb. I'm a practitioner of divinations. You can find me on Facebook as Ramutef Kweb. You can find me on Instagram as Ramutef_Kweb. Also visit our website at maatraya.org, the DNA and DNA. And for today, we are going into everybody's favorite thing, the Zodiacs.
Stand by for me. Um, I am Ishram. Welcome, everyone, to the Karmic Dynasty platform. Welcome, everyone, to the Facebook Elmore, the Universal Humanitarian platform. And welcome, everyone, to Tribe Up 777999. I appreciate you all this evening. Now, before Ramutef politely introduces and prepares you all for this evening's presentation, I must share that I am in protest mode this evening. Welcome to the Karmic Dynasty. Now, my screen is off all night. I swear I'm prepared. I protest. Now, my protest is so timely because Ramutef is real. Ramutef quit. You've been holding out information about Ma'at Raya. Are you going to share the Ma'at Raya information to everyone this evening, or are you still going to hold out?
Hi.
That was Moon Fox, the peaceful side of the dynasty. Peace to Ramutef quit. Ishra. Elmore, so talk to it. Are you ready, Mama Tiff? You available? I know you out there driving.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
And
you
we
can hear
hear
me now?
you. You share the my
Yeah,
right.
I ain't had no signal for a second.
You
Um,
know,
for now, for
my
now, not so
Raya,
much. Not
Raya,
so much.
my
I just ask people
Raya.
to, I just ask people to just visit
Protest,
the website, and you'll
protest
find a little bit about what we do.
a
When it
little
comes to
bit.
the withholding of the information, um,
Uh,
it was going back in the green room, if you will.
uh,
And
uh.
it was just, I just felt like sharing because I was so hyped when I seen the
But
brother
you, you,
Moore.
you, but you admittedly, openly admitted that you have been withholding information. So bold of you. What do you mean, Ramutef Quip?
Well, like I was saying, when the brothers started putting information in the green room, I got really
Uh,
excited and I jumped the gun. And
um,
yeah, it was a very interesting thing to just just bring it out because for
so
real,
it's
for real, for
Elmore's fault.
real. No, it's not his fault
You
at
said
all.
he started it.
No, yeah, he started with the information, and I got
So
excited.
it's
I
his
was like, "Oh, I got to share this," because
it's his fault. Do
no,
I
it's
gotta
definitely
break
my fault.
protest and come on the screen with this face I got right now? Elmore said, yeah.
Right?
He said, hit him with the ish wrong.
For real, for real.
I
But no,
can't
it's,
deal.
just to give a little teaser. It was
Thank
basically,
you.
going into the realm of frequencies and colors and, dealing with the zodiacs, planets, and things of that nature. And then when that information was shared from the brother first, I, just felt like sharing. I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of, what is called like Mark 1 of what the Ma'at Raya turned into. But that information that was shared to y'all was more so on the lines of, just to be aware of a couple of things, seeing all this, not necessarily similarities, but, calculating the energies that are all within these signs, planets, stars, um, novas, supernovas, what you call them things, superclusters and things of that nature.
So, at the karmic dynasty levels, the energy must be right. That's why the intro music wouldn't even play right. Because Ramutef's holding out information, y'all. So if you did not enjoy the intro music, it's Ramutef's fault.
It played right on my side. I heard it fine.
Yeah, I said
Oh,
here.
you disturbing my energies, Ramutef.
Yeah, I swear. But no, I heard it very well on my side too. I ain't gonna lie. But so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listening audience, welcome to our show of astrology resurgence, myths and zodiacs.
So,
So,
Elmore, would you speak on this that you openly shared in the back room preparation private chat between yourself, Ramutef, and me?
Right.
I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure. Yeah, I'll go ahead and break it down. This is a note of the music notes related to each sign of the zodiac, starting from Aries to Pisces, from D major to B major. As you can see, all the zodiacs is in major signs right now on this, according to this label, and it had Western notes and Indian notes. And Aries is D minor, Taurus E minor, Gemini F minor, Cancer G minor, Leo A minor, Virgo C minor. You got Libra D minor, Scorpio E minor, Sagittarius F minor, Capricorn G minor, Aquarius A minor, and Sagittarius B minor. And all these carry their own significant frequency when it comes to harmonics, harmonic frequency related to the zodiac sign. So some I know people be saying like some music low vibrational, some music high vibrational, but it just depends on what frequency they're putting out on, depending on which notes key they have the notes in, determine if the music low vibration or high vibration. But mostly all music contains a little low vibration because it got to have bass in it. So bass is like low vibration, and these Aries make the sound re, Taurus make the sound my, Gemini fa, and so on and so forth. And in Indian, it varies. It's kind of different in Indian. And I can forward elaborate with the other PowerPoints.
Stand by for me, my bad. Ah, stand by.
so yeah, going into those musical notes, those are like some key players, dealing with those frequencies. Because when you're dealing in the realm of that part of called like musical astrology, as I'm going to coin it for right now, these particular notes give people that melody. So it's like depending on how you play it, what instruments you use, and how the key bass one, which is like I think it's like everyone uses 444 or 432 or something of that nature when it comes to like the main tone that they play these frequencies in. And then you start going into what is that what is it called? what is that project? I forgot what it was called. Oh, it's not Bluebeam, but what is that project called? It's dealing with the mind control thing. So when it comes to like the music that we use today, right? A lot of the music that a lot of these
I think
artists
you're talking about
use.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, MK Ultra. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, they use this technique within the music very, very, methodically. And when you start to see like the certain frequencies with the zodiacs, and then when we go further in the presentation, it will start to, make some clarity sense on this opening that we're speaking on.
Right, bro. I feel you on that. Um, this is another chart of the frequencies of the planets, which is labeled the planet frequency. The planets are playing a song like an orchestra. This is why the planet's orbits affect you so much. And here are the songs of each planet. Because our body is like 70% water. Like frequencies and vibration have an effect to water. Like I said in lab presentation, it create sacred geometrical figures in our body, and through these frequencies according to the planet. So Mercury got the frequency of 141.27 hertz, which is the frequency of speech control, study aid, and confidence, which align perfectly with Mercury. And Venus has the frequency of 221.23 hertz, which is beauty, love, sexuality, sensuality, and harmony. Earth has 7.38 hertz, which you notice out the whole chart. Earth had the lowest frequency out of all of them. And they represent many memory, rejuvenation, balance, tolerance, and grounding. Mars is 144.72 hertz, which is energy, humor, strength, and your focus of will or willpower. Jupiter is 183.58 hertz, which represents success, growth, creative, creativity, power, and generosity. Saturn 147.85 hertz, which enhances concentration and it deal with karmic connection and it brings structure and order. Uranus is at 432 hertz on the dot, and it represents universal harmony, calmness, personal harmony, and good moods and sudden changes. Neptune, 211.44 hertz, and it represents it's on the frequency of lucid dreaming. It brings out the unconscious thoughts and secrets like things buried deep inside the subconscious. So if you're trying to enhance, like if you have like a bad place, Mercury or whatever, each one of these planets in your chart, you can find the same frequency and listen to those frequency and enhance the planet within yourself because all these planets revolve and evolve inside of us. You feel me? And on the next one, this is talking about how the Earth rotates, and the Earth rotates in such a way where it make a pinnacle. But I'll read this. Read the note. The Earth creates a natural pinnacle with its orbit around the sun. The Earth's orbit is 360 degrees, and in those 360 degrees, the Earth has 365 revolutions or days within the orbit. The only number that divide both 360 and 365 without a remainder is 5. This gives the ratio 72 degrees per 73 days, 72 over 73. Each of these points mark one-fifth of the orbit. If you connect the dot, it makes perfect pinnacle. So the pinnacle is representation of man, right? On leg, head, right? So the Earth makes a natural pinnacle in this orbit, which I said last time on my presentation. We are Earth. You know what I'm saying? That's why the zodiac, the man inside the zodiac, inside of the pinnacle. They're kind of different. They're relating to like the cell salts according to the zodiacs. And I'm not gonna go through all of these. I'm just gonna, what I'm saying, go through the basic. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just gonna explain what it's good for. Like if you are Aries, and Aries kind of suffer with headaches, inflammation, uh, blood flow. So you see the cell salt you need is gonna be Cali phosphate right there. Let me see. Yeah, for Aries, yeah, potassium phosphate. It's an Aries cell salt. It's a nerve. It's a nerve nutrition for the cell salt for the Aries, and it represents the magnetic force, and so on and so on. It's a lot of them, but I can send you this chart if you need it. Just DM me, and I can send you the chart so you can see what cell salts you need. Cause you know what I'm saying. You need the cell salts of your rising. You need the cell salts of your sun placement. You need the cell salt of your moon placement and your planet placement. You feel me? So if you provide yourself with those cell salt, you shouldn't be lacking in those areas, which affect the medically, because every planet rules a part of our body in medical astrology. You know what I'm saying? And that planet is associated with a cell salt, and you can either have a good effect or a bad effect according to if you lacking the cell salt or receiving too much cell salt. So it's best to keep it at a balance. Yes, sir.
Gratitude. Now, Seba, are you available with us right now?
Give me about 10 minutes.
So, okay, you need 10 minutes. I'm going to ask my question right now. We're going to move forward. So, would it be safe to say that these slides we just saw that Elmore shared for the preparation of today's presentation is what you were saying? I'm using a synonym, I think, for happy. You got happy, excited, you jumped the gun, and then you start going into things, and then you expressed how you've been holding out information. Type this all my Aunt Raya related type stuff. I remember the them nation. Peace.
Well, it's more so in the realm. It's just like, it's work that myself and my other colleague are, very excited on working on. And when we start putting things together and start putting in the right placement, and then just study that realm of medical astrology and a couple of other techniques that were added to it, we understood that a lot of the information, especially when dealing with the frequency part, are kind of off in a way. But at the same time, I mean, it works. But you got to remember back from the first episode dealing with signs and constellations. It's the different types of astrology that you're using these frequencies for. So it's like if you're dealing with Western, then most of what we're given is dealing with that. Then you're dealing with that whole with the Siba Santon Bonacci when he made that type of diagram that we showed in the last part with the body parts. Like that's something that he uses very much in his mandala. But in his version, it's like combining both the Chinese astrology and Western astrology, and then you get what you get. But that information is not discredited, especially when you start to break down a very integral parts of the body using the 12 house system, because that 12 house system is not only breaking down you know a particular body part, but it's in all in 1 degrees. Every degree, 1 degree in that 30-degree manner of the body chart is specific areas of your body, and those specific organs also resonate on their own frequency in a sense, and some of them need more of this, dealing in that realm of amino acids and things of that nature, just basically dealing with your DNA structure. And then when you're dealing with certain types of astrology, you understand that body
Bad
is
job.
I'm sorry, the body itself is dealing with different types, because everybody has a different rising sign. So, that chart that we use is perfect for a person with a Aries rising. But a lot of us don't have an Aries rising. Our Aries could be in the fifth, sixth, seventh, um, so on and so forth. So when it comes to that body, it changes a lot. The energy changes a lot. The signatures change a lot. And then when you start to add those planets, like I said, like that whole base energy is like 432. Then if you were to bring up like chakras and things of that nature, and it's like these chakra points or these chakra hertz are basically higher than everything that's in that planet, but also those planets represent those chakras. You know what I mean? But so I just went ahead and just send the information that we gathered, and it was just just shared between us, and then eventually I'll eventually share with the rest of the folks that watch or ask and things of that nature as well.
So, peacefully, Ramutef Club, I appreciate you sharing with everyone. And I appreciate how you and Elmore work together as well. When y'all be building, I really, honestly, when it was the idea for us to come together for this astrology resurgence, I really just was delighted in just watching YouTube and listening to YouTube. I do. I love how y'all work. So I appreciate how y'all was building today in preparation. I'm glad you both shared openly today. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. Oh, y'all know what? I am so in protest. Look at that. Who was gonna tell me I had a Loki Thor background up instead of the myths and so this show is getting started. That's what they mean. Let's roll. Now, I love y'all guys. I love y'all. Now,
Much love.
constellations are the invention. This is a preview to today's presentation. They are an invention of human imagination, not of nature. They are an expression of the human desire to impress its own order upon the apparent chaos of the night sky. For navigators beyond sight of land, or for travelers in the trackless desert who wanted signposts, for farmers who wanted a calendar, and for shepherds who wanted a nightly clock. The division of the sky into recognizable star groupings had practical purposes, but perhaps the earliest motivation was to humanize the forbidding blackness of night. Newcomers to astronomy are soon disappointed to find that the great majority of constellations bear little, if any, resemblance to the figures whose names they carry. But to expect such a resemblance is to misunderstand their true meaning. The constellation figures are not intended to be taken literally. Rather, they are symbolic, a celestial allegory. The night sky was a screen on which human imagination could project the deeds and personifications of deities, sacred animals, and moral tales. It was a picture book in the days before writing. Would y'all elaborate? Gratitude.
Yeah. Uh, can you go back to it? Yeah, we'll say constellation are the invention of human imagination, not of nature. We'll say God made man in his image. They'll be correlating to God's imagination. So it says expression of our desires. So that's why I say astrology is really based on collective consciousness. So whatever we can imagine or whatever we the collective put out to the people is what is our reality. So we believe Aries is Aries, it's gonna manifest if so many people of the collective agree, then it manifests into reality. And like I said, it was a screen for the people to see the signs and see uh, be known with familiar with the deities and sacred animals. So the screen can be considered like a hologram. So it basically saying it's a holographic reality of our imagination, basically, in so many words, in my opinion.
And then when you start dealing with different cultures, you start to realize that when you take out the constellations is basically when you take what we know as a zodiac and you give it lines for like a drawing to make it look like a picture when it could be something totally different. When it comes to like ancient cultures, a lot of them would view just the stars themselves, even though certain stars stand out a lot more than others, but they all represent, and in certain cultures, as ourselves looking down on the earth, or ancestral spirits, or like when it comes to, in the realm of dogma or religion or spiritual practices, they're seen as, where the ancestors go. If they were, and that, like, let's say for the Kemetic culture, when it comes to, your heart being weighed to scale, and when you know is your heart is balanced with Ma'at, then you become Asarianized. And when you become Asarianized, you walk through the halls through a place known as Sekat Aru, or how you say Seket Haptep. Seket Haptep is basically um, the field of peace, the Elysian fields, and Greek mythology and things of that nature. But Sekat Aru is basically the field of stars, where you become a star, be reborn, Ranu, as one of those stars, where you become, the type of ancestors. The way that I would also implement is like when you're dealing with, let's just say, certain deities and spirits, right? These spirits are in those stars. So when you start to draw certain things known as sigils or VVs and things of that nature, that particular signature is one of those stars which you are calling down, or calling within you, calling up within you, a certain type of deity or ancestor, or that higher self, or things of that nature. When it comes to that figment of imagination, it's just basically telling you, like, when you look at the stars, it's basically HD TV, like, versus TV itself, or television in a sense. It was like the real television until we started to synchronize that and put it into another square that represents who's Saturn in a sense. So as we go forward into this next part, is starting to deal with what we known as zodiac. So I'll go back into explaining what a zodiac. So a zodiac is basically the symbols or signs that we all describe them as certain particular animals. And then when you start to look at the word of zodiac, you understand that zodiac means zoo and a couple of other um, names as well. But mostly it's dealing with zoos, because most of the constellations that we're speaking on, or zodiacs, are of some type of animal or some type of object. And then as we go through this particular realm, we're going to start with the first three. And then, since everyone knows that Aries is the first house, or Aries is the first zodiac, we're going to deal with Aries first, then go to Taurus, and then Gemini. So before we begin, does anybody got anything to say before we get started?
I do. So one of my references in this presentation is right here above the title. It's the ianridpath.com. This section is the / star tales. So there's many sections in here, but the ianridpath.com is one of the sources, and is very in depth. Talk about rabbit holes. So you want to look forward into things beyond what we'll be discussing. That'd be a good place to look. And that's my piece before we move forward.
I also would like to recommend a book known as The Light of Egypt. I can't think of the author's name right now because I'm driving, but The Light of Egypt is a very great start or introduction to get familiar with, the tales of these particular zodiacs and constellations. So as we begin this presentation is going to be a mixture of how the stars are moving with the sun, literally, and what the degrees are dealing with the sun as well.
Talking about Gerald Massey. Which one? The Light of Egypt, Werner Jansen. It's a lot of them.
I know
Which
I
one?
can't really look right now. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, you not look. Okay, I forgot you traveling. My bad. Go ahead.
Mm.
Y'all
But
inbox
yeah.
here. Go Ramutef's information. Inbox Ramutef for more information on which, because there's a lot out here as we see.
hmm But
Okay,
there's a particular version that's out there that
yeah, I
I'll
see
make
that.
sure to put it in the chat once the video is over, so people can get their hands on it.
Okay,
You
cool.
can get it on Apple. You can get it on Apple, even though I'm kind of like mini advertising, but you can get it on Apple Books. It's not that much. You can download it and read it for yourself. You can actually go to libraries, things of that nature, Amazon. so on and so forth, etc. Um, so the versions that you're about to see is, if you know of me, you will understand that I practice what is known as Netru Tautet. It's something that I've coined just by looking at the names of these particular Neterus. So what you're going to see is a diagram of a neter dealing with what people will know as Egyptian deities or neterus. You'll see a version of that neteru that represents that particular constellation zodiac, and then you're going in the centerpiece. You should see the dates of what we know them to be dealing with Western astrology or just any type of astrology in that particular realm of dealing with the 30 degrees. I don't know if it's on the left or right side. I want to say it's on the left or right. It's on the left side, maybe, where the dates using Gregorian dates of how long the sun is in these particular constellations. And as we go forward, you're going to start to notice that even in the same day, certain constellations have the same day, and that's just basically dealing with time itself, where you're dealing with the hours, minutes, and seconds moving into a new sign or a new energy. So in this particular one, I want to say we're starting with Aries. My apologies. So with Aries, you understand that everybody knows Aries as the ram. In this particular understanding, you would understand that, looking back into this particular culture, you should see a ram-headed figure. This ram-headed figure that you know of is the nectar known as Kanun. Or if you look at Luxor and you look at the sphinxes and things of that nature during that spring equinox, or what is called the age of Aries, you will see that that particular structure has an avenue or of a lot of structures of rams to let people understand that these monuments around the world is even over there in what is known as Kemet, Egypt, or Kush. They star dated everything. Literally, they basically made sure that we as a people understand these particular placements very well, or what is known as the precession of equinox. That is like one of the biggest, talks when it comes to that scientific world, that they still argue to this day about what we're in now. Are we in Aries? Are we still in? I'm sorry, I said Aries. Are we still in the age of Pisces? Or are we in the age of Aquarius? They literally have conferences, especially in California. They have these conferences about these particular topics. And then today, ladies and gentlemen, we're just basically going to just brush over the signs slash zodiac slash constellations. So just get familiar with the names and understanding that, you know, Canun and Aries are basically one and the same. They definitely carry the same energy. And then if you want to go to the Orisha pantheon, people will understand that Aries would be the Orisha known as Ogun as well, all because of the certain type of abilities and dealing with your head. But when you start to go deep and learn about the head itself, you understood, like I was saying earlier, the head can be different types, which gives us our unique look or our body sign, or which is known as the rising sign, or basically the first house. But this particular day, I can't really see the date, so I'm going to pass it on to everybody else.
Yeah, Aries is represented by Mars, which is the god of war. And like he said, it's going to be representation of Ogun. And Aries rules the head. Aries govern the first house, which is I am, which is the self, which is sometimes the personality or and the body, according to some tradition. Aries governs blood flow in our body, inflammation, our ability, our drive, our ambitions, our ability to go get stuff started, our courage. Aries represent courage, which is ruled by Mars. Aries rules our drive. It's the opposite of Libra. So Aries is here to learn how to incorporate incorporate with people, establish positive relationships. Because Aries also focus on the self, but and the opposite of that is the people, which is Libra. or establish relationships. And Aries can represent metals, lead, not metal, but lead, uh, construction, like construction, any type of weapon, sword, gun, knife. Uh, it's our ambition, motivation, and drive. That's all I can think about right now. Till something else come up.
All right, so everyone, if you've not been here and you're not current on the series, there are links below in the description to links to the episodes prior to this one. Now, what we discussed prior is we were working on the glyphs, and for Aries, we have the glyph here also pictured upside down. What I did promise was, besides the penis, the phallus, which in astrology is represented by an arrow, that I would discuss the testicles. So today, here we are. I would be discussing the Aries sign upside down. Looks like a pair of testicles. Would anyone like to elaborate before we move forward on this presentation?
Yeah. Aries ancient ruler is Mars. Well, Mars was an ancient ruler of Scorpio, which ruled the genitals, which is the technicals. So it line up right with what you're saying.
I appreciate that, because again, for those who are not up on where we've been in this series, I discussed how I saw a glyph for Jupiter. I thought looked like a 2 and a 4. So what I did in also in the process was I flipped the signs upside down and was looking at the significance of them. We've also looked at how the glyph for Venus used to be the glyph for Aries. Is that correct? Mars. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we looking at glyphs in more than one way. We tossing these things, and right now we're looking at a pair of testicles with Aries, and actually looking at the ram, the horns, how they turned flipped up by the side of his face. That's also, I see that right now, that curvature up, speaking of curves and straight lines, that curvature up around his face looks like that curvature up on the Aries glyph upside down.
And then to go even further, I think explained it in the first uh, episode 1. So also, I want people to understand that these glyphs also represent agriculture more than they represent the animals themselves. Every particular one is a certain one. So, like for example, the spring equinox ran in the realm of March 20th, March 21st, right? Hence why Aries is always going to be at that particular spot. If you go into, on the YouTube channel of Karmic Dynasty, we did a New Year's video, and I was demonstrating what it is versus what they tell you when it comes to these equinox points. So, for example, the glyph that they use for Aries is basically sprouting. It's a plant that's sprouting, and then when we correlate that to springs, because that's where they correlate Aries to, or accumulate the energy of Aries at a certain particular time. If you continue using the Gregorian dates, yes, this sign was at a point in March 21st. But in this era that we live in, it is no longer there. It is not until later, as we that's the reason for the dates or the differences, so people can get an understanding of what it used to be and what it truly is. And then as we go through, you're going to start to see, different glyphs for every zodiacs in different ways and manners. But also just remind yourself that, the 30 degrees manner is dealing with seasons. So right now we're starting with their so-called spring, but it's not even that sign at this current date.
Well, what? Oh, Elmore, would you read this for me? Or I'll read it. I'll read it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, my bad.
All right. The ram made his appearance on Earth just as King Optimus did. I'm gonna say was about to sacrifice his son Phyrix to ward off the impending famine. King Optimus and his wife Nephili had an unhappy marriage, so Optimus turned instead to I know resented her stepchildren Phyrus, whatever the words I can't pronounce it right, but you know what I'm saying. Healy, and she arranged a plot to have them killed. She began by purging the wheat so that the crops would fail. When Optimus appealed for help to the Delphic oracle, I know bribed messengers to bring back a false reply to Phyrus must be sacrificed to save the horse. Reluctantly, Optimus took his son to the top of the mountain. He was about to sacrifice Phyrus to Zeus. When Nephili intervened to save her son, sending down the sky a winged ram with a golden fleece. Phyrus climbed on the ram's back and was joined by his sister Heli, who feared for her own life. They flew off eastward to Caucasus, which lay on the eastern shore of the Black Sea under the Caucasus Mountains. Uh, on reaching Caucasus, Phyrus sacrificed the ram in gratitude to Zeus. The binding of Isaac in Hebrew also uh, simply the binding is a story of the Hebrew Bible found in Genesis 22 in the biblical narrative. God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Abraham began to comply when a messenger for God interrupts him. Abraham then sees a ram and sacrifices it instead.
Ramutef Queb, would you like to speak on this story? And for the record, yes, I'm breaking my protest. I could not have my brother, the universal humanitarian, up here on the screen by himself. Peace, y'all. Peace. Ramutef, I can't hear you. Your mic open too.
Yeah, I never heard of the first part by King at Damas. I don't know if I'm saying a word right. I doubt it, but
King Athamas. I don't know what at first I don't even know what language that is. Second of all, whatever language it is, I'm not fluent on it. I'm kind of need a class on that. But we rolling with this. I also got some pictures I'm gonna share to go along with this story. So here we will see the illustrations here as you spoke of, and then we're gonna be talking about that's this one, the golden fleece. Yeah, it's in here. So the golden fleece story, that's all part of that. And for more information on this, you can check out Jason and the Golden Fleece. Apparently, the junior high schools back in the day, because this is an old copy, they have plays about this story. So allowing the story into the schools, really wondering if the children even are aware of the stories of which they are taking part of to share on the stage in their acting modes. But I really doubt it. So Elmore, you spoke on that. You both also spoke on Aries. We speaking on these stars. Now, again, while I was preparing this presentation, one of my grandchildren, she was talking, looking at it, and she was like, "What's that, Mama?" So I told her. I said, "These are constellations." And they put them together and draw some lines, and they say it's a ram. She was like, "Those stars don't look like no ram." So back to my point of the entire purpose of this series for me is to share with everyone the ever-changing aspects of astrology. They will switch up these stars. They will erase lines, regroup lines, redraw lines, and come up with what they want to come up with. And further into this series, we will share an example of a series of stars. They call it a constellation. and they took away some of the stars and create a whole new sign for it.
Right. They did create a lot of stuff, and they took away a couple things also. And I've come to my understanding that we us human have the ability to create our own planet, but it'll take a lot of time and effort. But I think it's possible though. Or utilize a planet that ain't been utilized and added to the chart, like the newly discovered planets or whatnot. We can utilize those energies and it become part of our reality.
All right, I'm not sure. I had some things to navigate in here. I'm not sure, Priestess Belladonna, if your question was answered, but it will be. And in another episode. And if you want more information on that, definitely here go Ramutef Queb's information, and he will gladly, honorably speak to you about it. Promise you, promise you. Now, moving forward here, we will be talking on Taurus and Gemini. Ramutef Queb, do you have us on this one? All right, Ramutef just left the studio. So, Elmore, you want to speak on this? Because I heard you speak after him when he spoke before. Do you have something you want to share on this?
Yeah, I can read his chart.
Okay, and he's coming in now.
If you could remove the little tab, yeah, April 20 through May 20, Taurus. May 21st through June 20 is Gemini, and the Taurus constellation represent Het Heru, and Gemini represents I don't know what that is right there, but
That's Ptah.
Ptah. Okay, cool. And Gemini represent Ptah, the Egyptian god Ptah. And Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Taurus governs the second house, and it rules the body part of the throat, and I think the nose. But I know for sure the throat. And it's ruled by Venus, governs the second house, and Taurus represent our values and material values and our family values and our how we get money. You know what I'm saying? Taurus is the ruler of money, how we provide and how we accumulate money. I think Ramu came back, so he can further explain it.
You able to hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I probably I was sitting there running my mouth, and nobody probably heard me. Well, when I was talking about the first one, but moving into the second one, so we're dealing with the deity known as Heharu, right? So Heharu and Ptah are basically the deities that represents this particular constellation zodiac. The bull, as when we get into it on the next slide, you're going to start to see, the representation of, this particular deity. The reason for people always wonder, like, why is Heharu the particular deity for this constellation? Well, thanks for asking. So there's a particular set of stars known as the Pleiades. These Palladian stars have a story in the Greek mythology. This Greek mythology is dealing with the daughters of Atlas. The daughters of Atlas is the one of the most known information that we had about Heharu and her sisters. And you understand that she had these particular sisters, and then when you start to really look for this constellation, you'll see each one of these stars represent a certain color. And when you start to notice these colors, you'll start to notice that they mirror what is known as chakras. And then you're going to notice that one of them is missing. Which one is missing? Oh, it's our sun. So when you start to look at our sun and then these particular stars, you start to get a handle on certain things. And then when you look into certain ancient cultures, in this particular one, you'll notice that they mummified the bull during this era or during the age. So when it starts to, correlate bringing ages into the signs, you understand that in that quadrant within inside the pyramid, not only give the Gregorian dates that we have, but they also give you an tell of what is known as an age. So for every age, it's 2,160 years. For every 2,160 years is basically one of those ages, or we know as 30 degrees.
Right. Gemini ruler is Mercury, and Gemini rules governs the third house. And we're on Taurus. Oh, I'll talk about Taurus. Taurus is our financial needs, our financial comfortability, our talents, the way we value things, uh, family upbringing, and some tradition, because it governs the second house. It ruled by Venus, which Taurus govern relationship, sensual relationship, and his glyph is the bull, which represent Moses in the Bible.
hmm And then when it comes to like the particular glyphs, when it comes to dealing with what is called seasons or nature or agriculture, it's like you're seeing with Taurus, you see the circle and the crescent. We all know in that earlier description, when you turn this glyphs upside down, you start to really see the correlation of what Taurus or this constellation energy brings. That's soul over spirit. And when you look at its planetary glyph that it's ruled by, it's basically the soul over matter.
I appreciate that explanation, Ramutef. We're gonna move forward with that one. So with I'm gonna read this one. Elmore, I appreciate you reading the other one for me. Now, right quick, I'm gonna share it to everybody. I don't know if it's in here. Hold on, I got my camera. My bad, y'all. I don't know if it's in here. I'll look. I don't remember all of the presentation, the part that's mine. Oh, now when looking at the Taurus constellation in the sky, and it's coming up. Well, I'll share it when we get to that. Oh, it is in here. All right. So this says Taurus. The Taurus story, if y'all don't know, is about kidnapping and pedophilia. So according to the astrology, like the traditional Western astrology. So again, for those of you that like to hold on to symbols, you love your zodiac sign. Do you know the meaning of what's going on behind your sign? According to Western astrology, traditionally, you a Taurus and you love it. Okay. Either way, it deals with kidnapping and pedophilia. Reading forward, Taurus represents Zeus, a bull disguise he adopted to carry away Europa. Europa liked to play on the beach. Zeus instructed his son Hermes to drive the king's cattle from their pastures on the mountain slopes towards the shore where the girl played. Adopting the shape of a bull, Zeus mingled with the lowing herd, awaiting his chance to abduct Europa. There was no mistaking who was the most handsome bull. His hide was white as fresh snow, and his horns shone like polished metal. Europa was entranced by this beautiful yet placid creature. She adorned his horns with flowers and stroked his flanks, admiring the muscles on his neck and the folds of the skin on his flanks. The bull kissed her hands, while inwardly Zeus could hardly contain himself in anticipation of the final conquest. The bull lay on the golden sands, and Europa ventured to sit on his back. At first, she feared nothing when the bull rose and began to paddle in the surf, but she became alarmed when it began to swim strongly out to sea. Europa looked around in dismay at the receding shoreline and clung tightly to the bull's horns as the waves washed over the bull's back. Craftily, Zeus, the bull, dipped more deeply into the water to make her hold on to him more tightly still. By now, Europa had realized that this was no ordinary bull. Eventually, the bull waded ashore at Crete, where Zeus revealed his true identity and seduced Europa. He gave her presents that included a dog that later became the constellation Canis Major. The offspring of Zeus and Major included Minos, king of Crete, who established the famous palace at Knossos where bull games were held. Any feedback from the panel before we continue forward?
No, I'm good.
Taurus represent Oshun. If anybody want to know that, Oshun.
All right, moving forward here. So we're looking at the Taurus constellation here and the Aldebaran. This is the brightest star in the constellation Taurus. It is a binary system of which the main star is a red giant. Now, we also looking at what at this time was some calls the bullseye at the same time. And Aldebaran is the brightest star in the constellation Taurus and is known as the Eye of Taurus. The name Aldebaran is Arabic, which means the follower, because it appears to follow the Hyades star cluster that forms the head of the bull. Anyone speaking on the panel?
So dealing with this part. So now we're going to get in a realm known as cardinal points, specifically the fixed cardinal points. So, long story short, there's these things called the Merku or pyramids, right? And these pyramids that we know of, let's take the ones in Giza. They're aligned to these 4 points. One of these 4 points is lined up to this eye known as Aldebaran. And when you start to look into, let's go into dogma, you start to understand who these 4 particular angels known as Michael, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel. And then when you go to the card known as the world's card, you'll understand that the placement on that card is that same placement that they're speaking on when it comes to dealing with this particular zodiac. And then when you go even deeper, when you go back to the Kemetic pantheon, you'll understand that they turned the jackal into a bull in this case. And when you start to know who the jackal is, which is known as Dwamutep, then you understand what it governs. And when you find out what it governs, then you start to really find out, you know, the in between lines of what the stars are actually saying, or what they are actually saying.
All right, Ramutef, would you speak to us about this slide right here? Asar, which is Orion, Gemini, and Cancer.
Correct. So again, going back to earlier, so a lot of people are not aware that the sun travels through different zodiacs or constellations. We're all used to this 30 degrees and not really following how the sun truly travels through each sign. Some are not aware that the sun itself lines itself with this constellation known as Orion. So when you start to understand the story of Orion, we all will get to understanding that Orion deals with Asar, or in academia you'll know him as Osiris. This particular constellation, when I was doing my research and just watching and star watching and sun watching and moon watching, I noticed that the moon and the sun touches this constellation. So if it touches the constellation, or it's in that vicinity, like tonight, like you can go outside right now and you can look out in the sky and see Mars, and Mars is basically in this constellation versus, what they will tell you that it's in Gemini. But moving forward, but in this particular sector is what is known as a 14th sign. And then earlier I was speaking on the 16 of them. So in this particular presentation, we're only going to deal with 14. Just moving ahead in a little bit. But in this particular constellation, these individuals who are born under this date, a lot of them will see themselves as either some type of Taurus or mostly Geminis. But these particular people that are born in this particular time frame are nowhere near Gemini. They do not act like Geminis. They don't kind of define themselves as Geminis, but when you really start to get to know them, you'll start to see that they have different traits of a different type of being that has never been given to us. And when you start to really look at certain people who were born under these dates, you're going to start to see a lot of these individuals were either very great leaders, some type of king, or some type of queen, or someone who's a very known figure and out through history. When dealing with this particular sign, it's dealing with the story of Orion, and we understand that. Not Orion, Asar. And we understand Asar was cut into 14 pieces, and one of the pieces that were missing was his phallus. So when it comes to looking at the stars or the zodiacs or the constellations, if you really look at them, you'll start to truly see that whole story played out between that battle of what is known as uh, the Asarian drama, or the battle between Asar and his brother Set, or Cain and Abel.
All right. Now with Taurus, we're moving forward to this screen right here in the presentation. I'm going to share my part. I'm going to ask Ramutef to elaborate on this for sure. Now, in the sky, why is the front half of the bull showing the constellation? All the other constellations are expressed, displayed, the lines, the dots they created shows the entire figure. Why with Taurus is only half of the Taurus showing? Question mark.
It's mainly due to the fact that um, when it comes to dealing with this, the true purpose of what they're doing, they're trying to separate and identify. But when you start to really look at the constellations and their format, as what we know as drawing the lines, you will understand that there is this particular type of zodiacs known as Scorpio, Libra, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Aries and Taurus. They're actually the same sign.
All right. So what I know, I see, well, from what I'm going to share while Ramutef come back. What I found is with Greek mythology, it is assumed that with the story, the kidnapping and pedophilia story I shared, it is assumed by Greek mythology that the hindquarters of the Taurus bull are submerged in that water in that story. So they just cut him off at the upper part, which was assumed to be outside of the water while he was preparing to kidnap Europa. So for them, they are expressing the story in the sky. They also share that in another source that there is not enough space in the sky to show the complete bull. They said it's too big. And I was like, the bull is, you're already taking dots and drawing lines. The sky is not big enough to hold an entire bull. Y'all can't draw hindquarters. I mean, if anything, the lines you drew, draw them smaller and fit the whole bull in there. They making up stuff. It's just crazy. Also, what I found is Cetus, which Ramutef will speak about, where the hindquarters would be. Cetus and Aries lies over there, and Taurus also is moves across the sky backwards as to retreat from Orion. So when Ramutef comes back, I'd like him to speak about further on Taurus moving backwards, which would be because they go counter. So that would say it would be clockwise. Is that correct, Ramutef?
Correct.
Because the which I would call the Zodiac moves counterclockwise. Hold on.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then it's like dealing with Orion. I'll start with Orion first. So
Okay.
the way that I see Cyrus, right? Everybody understands the star known as Cyrus is basically under Orion, or known as the dog star. When you're looking at it going clockwise, you're truly going to see a different image. The way that you see Cyrus is that, imagine, because remember, this is all about imagination. Flip Orion upside down, like how you see it now. Look upside down and then look far to the left. And you're going to see on the left side, bottom side of the screen, you're going to see a star. That particular star is that person pointing to that star. When you start to flip it with Taurus, you'll notice that, that part of Pisces and Cetus, they start to form into like a whole different type of being. And then you start to see like, okay, this is more so of the bull rather than what they give us when it comes to dealing with Western.
I agree, bro. Western on a fixed seasonal system, and the stars and the constellation constantly moving, so it has to be updated to be accurate. I totally agree with that, bro.
All right, now Ramutef, I'm about to load this next slide. And on here, I seen Cancer, but we're here today to talk about Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. This is the Shun Tefnut screen right here. And it says Cancer, June 21st, July 20. But yeah, shoot, tough note, June 21st, July 19th. Why did it say Cancer? But we're here today to talk about Aries, Taurus, and Gemini.
Well, it goes back to what the brother also stated as well, is that seasonal. You know, people are only used to these seasonal signs, and when they understand the seasonal signs is dealing with the deacons, that 30 degrees is dealing with the deacons. When you're dealing with the sun, because everybody only knows their sun sign when you're dealing with astrology, now we're giving you the pattern of what is the sun sign. So in this case, we understand Geminis to be twins. When it comes to the certain parts of creation stories, like Adam and Eve, right? You Adam and Eve, in a sense, derive from what is known as Shu and Tefnu. Can you hear me? Shu and Tefnu
Yes.
are these two deities that deals with moisture and basically air, or known as gas in science. These are the two combinations that are needed to create a solid, in a sense, or the three basic elements. When dealing with these two, you start to understand like that formation of what is known as its true source. We understand that Geminis, in a sense, that we know as Geminis, are very creative people. When you start to identify that understanding of creativeness, this energy of Shu and Tefnu, that's what they do. They create. And then I'll leave it to Elmore to explain.
Yeah. Speaking of Cancer, I don't know too much Egyptian part of it, but I know Cancer. govern the fourth house and is ruled by the moon. And Cancer is our comfortability, and it relates to our family and our home environment and subconscious and ancestors also. And it can relate to female, and it can be what else? Foundation, like home foundation. Um, it can represent like your, I said it already, your home environment, and it governs the breast area, the chest area, the body part. And
Um,
Yemaya is the
mhm.
Orisha.
Also,
Oh, the
and then the Orisha that deals with Gemini will be, two different ones depending on how you see it. If you still deal with, we understand what Mercury dealing with Gemini, then you understand it's dealing with a shoe. But when dealing with the two separateness of the man and woman, you're dealing with is known as the Abeji twins, or the twins of Oshun and Shango.
okay. So in Greek we have the twins, and in Latin, so in Greek and Latin, they both express and recognize the twins, Castor and Pollux. Ptolemy called them the twins in the Almagest, and we looked at the Almagest in the second episode. So look into that for more information. Now, um, later on, their identities were given to them by Hyginus, and Castor was also then known as the star of Apollo, and Pollux was also known as the star of Hercules. Well, in Greek, the Hercules. Now, what I found, because we were talking about the glyphs also and me turning them upside down, when we're looking at Gemini, we're looking at the souls being separated. We're looking at the curvature. I'm looking at it representing the souls of each twin being separated, but bound by the lines that's in between them. There's always a binding, um, a bind between twins. Is that what I'm looking for? Is that the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna think about that word. Y'all got something to share while I think about that word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
A bond, not bond. Go ahead. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Gemini represent it's a dualistic sign. As you can see, it's represent both sides of our conscious, which is the feminine and the masculine side. And in the Bible, I think it's Adam and Eve is represented by Gemini because uh Eve was Adam accomplice and made from Adam rib or whatever that how it go in the Bible or whatnot. And Gemini is the ruler of the third house, yeah. And this ruler is Mercury. And Gemini, the body parts Gemini govern is the lungs, the lungs, and all dual parts of the body, like two arms, two hands, the nostrils, lips, eyes, everything dual on the body. It represent that also.
Okay, then looking forward. Um,
Like he
so,
said, it's gonna be connected to issue and yeah, issue and the level, elegba.
oh, Eshu and Alegba. Okay, okay. Um, Thank you for that. Now, as I mentioned before, Ptolemy, that information is here on this screen. Everything I already said, that's here on this screen. Now, and did I also, I went ahead, unlike the twins that they represent, the stars, Castor and Pollux are not related since they lie at different distances from us, 51 and 34 light years respectively. Either one of you want to speak on how these so-called the twins, they're not even related based on their distance in light years?
Well, that's what I was going back to. It's like learning like what they give us versus what the stars are actually showing us. And then that whole thing about the twin part is because of the imagery when you start to put the lines in. But when you start to really look at it, it doesn't look like nothing like no two people. To be honest, it's just basically a certain type of geometric shape. That's what in the sky, and there's just 2 points that represents like a light side and a dark side because of the color discoloration of one, where one is brighter than the other. When it comes to the storytelling, in a sense, you have the two that most revered with it, and that's dealing with Shu and Tefnu, in a sense, because one is basically gas, one is basically moisture, and you start to understand that particular combination of these two particular stars. And when you start to do your research about these two particular stars that they're talking about, you start to learn the identification of the science of behind it.
Right. And to correct my statement from earlier, not Adam and Eve, but Cain and Abel, because Cain and Abel was the opposite of each other, but they were still twins, I think. But I think also Adam and Eve could be up under that constellation also, but I'm not sure. That was just my opinion.
I don't think Cain and Abel was twins.
Not gonna lie, I always thought they was. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I always thought they was. I don't think they never said.
Yeah, they never said
Y'all,
that. I'm thinking about it.
yeah, I'm so far removed from the Bible, I can't even honestly say. That would be, I'm removed.
But they represent opposite dualistic nature. That what Gemini basically represent dualistic nature.
Yeah, that's what I have. Also, with that glyph, it looks like a Roman numeral too. I need to go back to that. It looked like that to me. Um, and yeah, the opposing forces, light, dark, true, false, and also the fact that they couldn't live without each other. Um, and then the communication between them is the most important function for this sign, according to Western astrology traditionally. And those lines, those spaces, and those lines represent the communication. So that's the bond. Me and this word, the bond between them that is being expressed. They are generations. Okay, it's about the blood, and three different is what is being expressed here also. Moving forward. Now, again, for those of you here, we're not here to beat up Western astrology only. At least I'm not. We here addressing different, what's it called? Different types of astrology. So right now I'm using a Chinese reference with the Chinese Association. In Chinese astronomy, the largest part of present day Gemini was taken up by Jing, meaning whale, and consisted of 8 stars in the legs of the twins. Together they form a shape resembling that of the Chinese character for whale. The 22nd Chinese lunar mansion was named Jing after this constellation. Castor and Pollux were not part of Jing. Instead, with nearby road Geminorum, they formed Bay, the northern river. The southern river Nine was to be found in Canis Minor. Bai and Nine lay north and south of the ecliptic, respectively, so the pair were also interpreted as gates or sentries. Shu Wei, water level, a curved line of 4 stars, was usually seen as extending from Canis Minor into Cancer, but some older versions show it as the stars 68 to 85 of Geminorum, in an example of how Chinese constellations have literally changed their spots with time. So the Chinese have been recognized to change spots, stars, all these things, as well as what we're pointing out today with the Western astrology. Anyone want to elaborate on any of that or anything else?
Yeah, it's like because it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's dealing with those ages. When the ages start changing, a lot of the patterns that we see today start changing. They'll still be there, but the way that we perceive them will be in a totally different manner. So when you start to take shapes and give honor to certain things, it's like, they're rewriting certain timelines, they're rewriting certain stories, they're rewriting, the energy signatures that come with these particular bodies. And when we go into those bodies, now you see why when it's talking about those frequencies and how they basically use these certain ones to manipulate or to heal, or basically in the sense of different manners. Then also with Chinese astrology, um, their main four deities, which is the dragon, the tiger, the phoenix, and the lion turtle. These particular signs are always going to be these particular points because these are their mutable points, or what you know as mutable or life magic in a sense. Because when you start to deal with their particular magic, they deal with healing. A lot of Chinese medicine or feng shui and things of that nature is all dealing with healing. So when you're dealing with this particular constellation, you're dealing with is the main god or the wind god known as the tiger. Well, it has a name. I forgot what the name of the tiger though. I forgot how you say it in the language, but forgive me for that. But moving forward, and then you start to really identify like why they change it, because they have the power to change it. Because the main one that they're dealing with is the tiger. Anything else can be something totally different. So when you go to their zodiacal signs, when you look for Gemini, and then you start to deal with the lunar matches, and then that's when you're dealing with certain Vedic parts too, because they use both the sun and the moon in a sense, and those matches bring about a lot of different stories or tales that will complement why they keep changing it.
Elmore. Okay. Well, that is the end of our presentation for this evening. I don't have anything further to say. Um, Sharing final thoughts and your closing statements with everyone. I have nothing more to share myself. Peace. And again, welcome to everyone here new and those that know. Gratitude.
Yes, I close out. It's your boy Elmore, Universal Humanitarian, and you can reach me at Elmore Universal Humanitarian on Facebook, Elmore Universal Humanitarian on YouTube, or you can call me at 334-444-1791, or you can email me at yoshimore918 at gmail. I'm an astrologer, practice of astrologer, spiritualist, realist, activist. Hit me up if you need my help. Peace.
Yeah. Closing statement is just more so, just do the research, people. Look back on this video that we're doing. Start to I understand that these particular ones that we're talking about are really something else. The understanding of changing the vibe is something that I always predicate on. And I wish I can show everybody the stars right now so I can just kind of like show you what I mean by Orion, because I'm looking at it right now. And then when it comes to what is known as Mars as well, being right above it. But for now on, I appreciate everybody. Enjoy your rest of your evening, and we'll see y'all next time.
And actually, I do have something else to share. One piece, one piece. Now, next time, join us on the episode as we discuss in details and parts of the Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. So look forward to that posting of that episode. Should be next Thursday, same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll do our best to maintain the same time and space, and we will see you all about that time. We appreciate you. Gratitude.
Peace.